Hi, it's me, Introverted. I'm sorry about the poor lighting. It is Sweden, and the dark settles pretty fast, and we're not even in the middle of autumn, so um, I tried to put this setup. So I was going to talk about SI, which is our tertiary function as an INFP. And last time I talked about TE, and now I'm talking about SI. And it seems like the closer up I get towards our dominant function, the happier I'll be making these videos, because these are things that we're more natural with. SI as a tertiary function is like the playful function. It's not what we're best at, but we like using it because it helps us out. It doesn't crave as much energy as the tertiary function does, and it doesn't give us as much like dilemmas and sadness and anger and different annoyances as the inferior function does. We're not like the best at using it, but we know that we can use it. There is a problem if we overuse that together with FI and not use all of our functions in the way that they're supposed to, meaning in order and with strength and all of them. What I'm talking about is the FI-SI loop. That's some people say is real and some people are debunking. I kind of relate to it, so I'll describe the way I feel about it. And that is that SI is kind of our comfort function. As INFPs, we like routine more than a lot of types give us credit for. For example, the ENFP is much less into routine because SI is their inferior function rather than their tertiary. As INFPs, we don't like compromising our comfort as much as some other types. I'm thinking of types that don't have SI at all in their function stack. SI is very much about comfort. It's about inner sensing. So comfort is one of those. Another one is routines. Another thing is memories. Like sometimes I'll eat food that maybe is kind of not okay, doesn't taste super great, but I eat it because it reminds me of my childhood, because it reminds me of a good time I had, because I know it tastes okay, rather than trying something new that would maybe be exciting, but also might be a terrible surprise. So I'll eat some oatmeal and I'll be like, okay, that's fine. I don't need to have the SE great experience. I like having, just basic stuff, going through the routine, eating breakfast every day, trying to go to bed, at an early-ish time. I would say that if my SI was higher, I'd be able to keep that up a little bit better. If I had a higher TE, I might be able to have more discipline to have a good routine. But I try to keep a good routine because it makes me feel good. I like doing things outside the box because we have NE and NE wants us to try different things. But in general, I want to have a pretty stable life. And it's hard for other intuitive types who don't use SI. I guess that INTPs would be the closest, since they also have SI in their third slot. But other intuitives might have a hard time understanding why we are so okay with doing just the same thing every day. INFPs have the greatest beds because we always want to be cuddling up. We like our creature comforts. We like, a lot of INFPs like tea, and tea is warm and comforting. We have our favorite tastes, which we've had again and again and again, and we don't get tired of it. So sometimes like SI really saves our lives because like it does help us keep living if we're okay with the small things, the small comforts. So I enjoy my SI very much because it really helps with some things. Also, I think that even though we would hate working in an office job or a job that is like a factory, having to do the same thing again and again, I think the INFPs, as opposed to types that have SI inferior or not in their stack at all, I think that we're much more likely to find the soothing effect in SI. Like we can find it soothing in a weird sort of way to just like not have to think and just type in a spreadsheet or just do the same repetitive action again and again. Which other intuitive types or SE types might find like completely a waste of time and utterly boredom. So that is not to say that like we would find that super fulfilling, but I think that we are able to do that for a while if it means that we can to like de-stress in a way. I don't recommend like having to do an administrative job for an INFP, but temporarily it's just some kind of escape for us. Like we can just focus on those numbers and or on doing this specific thing in order to like stop thinking about all these possibilities and stuff. So sometimes SI can be useful. We're not the best at it. The SI users, the ISFJs, ISTJs, they're much more into this. I think that my dad is an ISTJ, and he very much wakes up early, does his routine. He always does his exercises. He always eats the same stuff. And he enjoys keeping a balanced, disciplined lifestyle. Well, for me, like, I'm okay with trying a little bit different stuff. Maybe I won't eat breakfast one day, or I'll be breakfast super late the other day. But I know that I'll feel best if I actually eat the breakfast at the same time. Also, SI makes me super nostalgic because, like, we're not super strong at SI as, like, the SI users are, but we love SI in that it gives us such pleasure in the past. Even things that might have hurt us in the past, we cling on to it because it's part of us and it's part of our story. And it's for us, SI is so tied to FI. So all of our memories are us. My best friend who's INFJ doesn't do this. He doesn't attach himself to objects in the same way that I would do. I attach myself to everything. Everything has a soul. It's like in Pocahontas, like everything has a spirit, has a name in my life. All of the things that I own are like mine, and they're special to me. because they mean something to me, because I've assigned a meaning to it and in the past that is special to me. So SI makes me like weirdly attached to objects that I own. It makes me attached to memories. It makes me attached to like people, people that are special to me. Even though I might have just met them once, I will treasure that memory, if good or bad, because it was important to me. And that's why I have such a special connection to places where I've met certain people, and I'll go back to the place and I'll remember what a conversation or just a feeling that I had when I went to that place last time or several years ago. And that can be both good and bad, because on one side, like whenever I just go around the city, it makes me feel so many good things, but it also makes me feel bad things. And it's heartbreaking to like remember all these things and not be in the present moment. So yeah, the SI really makes me focused on the past, and also makes me focused on past mistakes. And I'll remember it and it will haunt me and haunt me. So SI, double-edged sword, but generally pretty good to have. I would imagine that an INFP that has been through trauma might have a harder time with SI, because they remember like everything very vividly, and they'd also be able to construct a story behind it that would make it even worse. So I think that might be really tough on INFP. What else about SI? SI makes you good at remembering stuff by heart, which definitely helps when you're in medicine or in any kind of work where you need to use your memory a lot. SI also helps me relate to other people, because a lot of people in the world use SI as like their primary or secondary function, basically all the SJs. So like it helps me relate to the SJs on some kind of level, which is always a plus, because it's hard to relate to SJs. They're very focused on family, focused on traditions, the past, and I can relate slightly to that. At the same time, though, I don't feel like that's the most powerful meaning in life, and I want to go my own path. But I do understand the feeling of wanting to be cozy, of wanting things to be organized, to be stable. I enjoy traditions in general if they don't like hurt other people, which sometimes they do, and in that case, I dislike it. But I can understand the appeal of it, because I also use that function. SI really helps when you need to do the same thing again and again and remember things, which to a certain degree I can do well, but I'm not like the best at it. Once when I worked at an old age home, there were too many details and I just couldn't deal with it, because like different old people, like there was one old person, he would always put his toothbrush by the windowsill, and like I would forget every time because SI isn't my best function, so I would keep forgetting that detail, and every one of these old persons would have their own little thing, and it was too many details for me, and it wasn't important to me because I'm not an SI user first. So I would keep like forgetting these kinds of little things. I would keep it in my memory and try to place value on it with my FI in order to to be able to use SI, but that's kind of going around the problem. If I was an SI user first, I'd prioritize all these details above like any value that I would put on it. So that would have really helped when working at the old age home. So working at any kind of a service-minded work is much easier if you have SI. But I think that you need to have FE too. So yeah, I just suck as a nurse, basically. So yeah, I like my SI. It's not my best function, but it does help me out a lot. And I prefer my two best functions more, but all functions are useful in the end. So thanks for this part 2, which was about the tertiary function. Next one, any?